Lock your doors and windows as we uncover the 8 most disturbing things caught on doorbell camera footage. From mysterious strangers lurking in the night to spine-tingling encounters. Buckle up, it's going to be a scary ride. The incident that was caught on camera and occurred during broad daylight was nothing short of a shocking display of brazen criminal activity. The footage, captured by a doorbell camera, showed a young man in his lily 20s who was going door to door, selling candy to residents. While it seemed like a simple, innocent act, it quickly took a turn for the worse. Upon the homeowner opening the door to make a purchase, the situation took a sinister turn.
More men revealed themselves. They were armed and took advantage of the open door by robbing the woman in her own home.
To gain entry and rob the unsuspecting resident in her own home. The victim, caught off guard and in a state of fear, was helpless in the face of the sudden onslaught by the criminals. This chilling sequence of events was revealed to be a premeditated scheme, with the candy salesman being a willing participant from the outset. The ploy was orchestrated to earn the trust of the unsuspecting homeowner, leading her to open her front door, only for the men to then rob her at gunpoint. In a stark contrast, nearby doorbell camera footage captured the same man appearing to sell candy to 2 other homeowners, one of whom became suspicious and did not open their door, while the other wisely refused to engage with him altogether. Despite the brazen nature of the crime, the perpetrators remain at large, with no calls to the police made regarding their involvement. Our next video is bound to send shivers down your spine. The unsettling footage was captured on the night of March 7th, 2019, and depicts a chilling scene that is sure to leave you disturbed and alarmed. The footage begins with an unidentified man stepping onto the front porch of a house. The man is seen carrying a bright yellow fuel container, which he promptly empties in front of the door. The act alone is enough to send alarm bells ringing, but what happens next is truly terrifying. In a chilling turn of events, the man then proceeds to attempt to ignite the fuel using a small lighter. The footage captures the man trying repeatedly to light the fuel, but luckily he fails. Thankfully, the man used diesel fuel, which is much less flammable compared to regular gasoline, preventing a disaster that could have put a mother and her 2 children's lives in danger. The footage led the mother to call the police, who identified and arrested the man residing just across the street, revealing his bewildering motive of banishing a ghost and his suspected substance abuse. The man was later charged with attempted homicide and arson, leaving unanswered questions about his mental state. Get ready for a spine-chilling story of a contractor's harrowing experience inside a townhome in Houston. On the evening of February 2nd, 2022, while working on a project, the contractor encountered a masked intruder who was armed and dangerous. The perpetrator held the contractor captive and forced him into the bathroom, where he was bound and helpless. With no way to escape, the contractor was at the mercy of the intruder, who then proceeded to ransack the townhome for over an hour. What makes this story even more terrifying is that the intruder was listening to a police scanner, ensuring he had enough time to make his escape before the authorities arrived. But that's not all. The thief also managed to get his hands on the contractor's truck, loaded with his loot, and disappeared without a trace. Despite police efforts, the perpetrator remains at large to this day. However, the stolen truck was only recovered 2 days later in a nearby restaurant parking lot, abandoned with no clues available. The early morning hours of July 26, 2019 were anything but peaceful for one neighbourhood, as captured by a woman's doorbell camera in a disturbing scene. What the camera didn't show was a house next door that had been set ablaze, posing an imminent threat of fire to the residents' home.
Threat.
Yeah, their house is on fire.
I know, I'm knocking on the door. Nobody's answering. Can I help you?
The house next door to you is on fire. Your house is almost on fire.
Okay, thank you.
As the footage begins, the viewer can see a sense of panic and urgency as neighbours frantically rush to alert the homeowners of the impending danger. The situation was extremely dangerous and chaotic, with flames and smoke billowing from the adjacent home. Thanks to the bravery and decisive crisis management of the nearby residents, an imperiled situation was averted, and the woman residing inside the endangered residence was promptly alerted. With swiftness and efficiency, the children were quickly evacuated to one of the safe houses situated across the street, while the emergency services were promptly notified. As the blazes raged on, the firemen arrived in record time and doused the flames, extinguishing the fire with minimal damage incurred. Despite the intensity of the inferno, the house sustained only minimal harm, largely limited to the garage area. Fortunately, no human casualties or injuries were recorded on that fateful day. The captured footage depicts a perplexing and unsettling incident where an unidentified man is seen approaching the front door of a private residence. Without hesitation, the man leans against the door and attempts to gain entry without even knocking. Fortunately, the homeowner had installed a doorbell camera which promptly alerted them to the motion detected at their door. The homeowner then opens the door, questioning what brings that man to his house. However, the man brazenly enters the house without invitation, leaving the homeowner understandably suspicious and alarmed.
Hello. Hi. I'm sorry. Who are you? Good. You need to leave. How far? Out there. What's the stairs? What? What's the stairs? Come on. Where are you going? What's the stairs? Goodbye, you.
A red flag raised, the homeowner confronts the intruder. Despite being asked to leave, the man refuses, prompting the homeowner to resort to physical force to remove the unwelcome visitor from their property. In a fit of rage and frustration as he is being kicked out, the man forcefully punches the glass on the door, clearly revealing his hostile intentions. Despite the intense confrontation, the homeowner manages to close and lock the door, ultimately preventing the man from gaining entry into the premises a second time. However, the individual persists, continuing to stand at the door and trying the handle in a desperate attempt to enter the property before the footage ends. The next footage, captured on the evening of August 10th, 2021, documents a disturbing incident involving a woman returning home from work. As the woman unlocks the door and steps inside her home, a man, wielding a weapon, enters the property just behind her. Shortly after, a second man appears and both assailants demand the keys to the woman's vehicle.
Don't move. Don't scare him. Don't.
Under duress, the woman complies with the demands of the intruders, surrendering the keys to her car. The men quickly exit the premises and make their way to a waiting vehicle parked outside, before making a swift getaway in the stolen vehicle. After the victim contacted the authorities, police were immediately dispatched to the scene, launching a search for the stolen vehicle and the perpetrators of the crime. Just a few hours later, the stolen vehicle was located at a stop line, prompting the police to attempt a traffic stop. However, the vehicle fled at a high rate of speed, and the inclement weather conditions that night made it difficult for officers to pursue it safely. Despite their best efforts, the vehicle was able to evade capture and has yet to be recovered. Despite this setback, police were able to apprehend the two individuals involved in the theft just 2 days later. The individual who confronted the woman during the incident was subsequently charged with a number of serious offences, including home invasion, armed robbery, and motor vehicle theft. The next incident, which took place in Phoenix, Arizona, during the middle of the night, was captured by a doorbell camera installed by one vigilant homeowner. In the footage, a man can be seen approaching the front porch of the property, brandishing an actual sword, a hammer, and an axe. With apparent disregard for any potential witnesses, or the possibility of being caught, the individual then proceeds to brazenly steal multiple items from outside the house. The emboldened nature of the thief is further emphasised by the man's complete disregard for potential witnesses or passing vehicles, as evidenced by his nonchalant demeanour when a car drives by the scene. Undeterred, he continues to carry out the theft, filling his bag with stolen items and keeping the sword under his arm as he walks away from the property. For our next footage, a homeowner is alerted to a visitor at his front door while he is away at work. Concerned, he checks the live feed from his doorbell camera and is immediately taken aback by what he sees. A man, wearing a hat, sunglasses and a bandana, is standing on his front porch, visibly armed with a handgun. The intruder makes a disturbing request, claiming that he has lost his dog, and asking to search the homeowner's backyard for it.
We can't answer the door right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, you can do it now.
Hey, just wondering if you guys saw Lost Puppy. He's a pit bull, blue nose. I believe he came in your yard, but I don't want to look without your permission.
Hey, you at the wrong house, dog.
Alright.
Upon the homeowner's vocalization through the speaker system, telling the man that he is in the wrong house, the unidentified man swiftly departed from the premises without any objections. This occurrence, however, was not an isolated event, as law enforcement officials received numerous reports from other households with matching accounts of the suspect's description and modus operandi. Police surmised that the individual in question was potentially attempting to gain entry into residences by coaxing the inhabitants to unlock their doors, whereupon he would brandish his firearm and carry out his sinister intentions. In the present scenario, the perpetrator appeared to have been oblivious to the fact that his weapon was within view of the doorbell camera, thus explaining his decision to hold it in plain sight at his side. Unfortunately, the authorities were unable to identify the culprit due to his disguises that obscured his facial features, leaving him at large.